What's up, everyone? It's going to be a quick guide on how to spend your BP in Tokyo Xtreme Racer Early Access. Currently, there are not enough points to purchase everything in the perk tree, so you kind of have to be selective about it. What you spend your BP on is going to depend on what you would like to do in the game. For the time being, I'm assuming by the time the game releases in 1.0, we'll have enough BP for everything, especially considering tuning as well as vehicles are locked behind that. So hopefully by the end we have enough for everything. If not, then we'll still have to be a little bit selective, but for now we definitely have to be selective because it was too late before I realized I wasn't going to have enough to buy everything, and I kind of wish I spent them in other areas. I'm going to go through this in kind of an order, I guess. I'll try to be as concise as possible, and this is going to largely depend on your play style and if you're having any issues progressing in the game, and ultimately what you want to do in the game before we have enough points to purchase everything. So the driver level tab deals with buffs, if you want to call them that. So the attack is going to increase your attack power, enhancing the damage dealt to opponents in SP battles, and the defense is going to increase your defense power, reducing the damage taken. I would say maybe try to avoid these if you can. If you're not having trouble progressing, there's no reason to put a point into this. If you really hit a block and you feel like this is going to help you out with progression, then start speccing into this. But for now, I would save my BP for other things such as unlocking vehicles and, more importantly, tuning. I would say tuning is probably the most important thing that you're going to want to get, and the way the game works is you're going to be limited to, I believe, this row for a while until you defeat a specific rival, and then once you start defeating rivals, you're going to have access to the rest of the tree here. I think this is the most important thing, especially for people that want to customize their vehicles and tune them as best as possible in this build of the game. I think the second most important thing is to figure out which vehicles you want in the game and spec towards those vehicles. So if you don't care about like this last Toyota here, which is Super RZ for some reason, don't spec into Toyota because there's no reason to. If you want to go for like a Mitsubishi, spec into Mitsubishi, etc. One thing to note is that specific wanderers require you to be in a specific vehicle. So you may want to work your way towards that vehicle. For instance, this Toyota right here, this 350 RDS is required by a specific rival to be driven, so that he races you. If you're not in it, he won't race you. Whether you want to clear the entire list of rivals in this build of the game is up to you. This is always going to be available later on, and you can always defeat that rival later on in a further build. So you can wait to do that, but if you really want to be able to see the rivals list completely 100% done, then you're going to have to spec into that. Definitely give some thought into which vehicles you want and prioritize that, as well as tuning. I think those are the most important things. And then from there, if you're having difficulty with the game, spec into the driver level here. In the second tab, we have skills. I would compare this to the driver level tab in regard to speccing only to what you absolutely need. So if you need these SP gauge increases because you're struggling to progress, go ahead and grab them. But don't just put points into things like I did willy-nilly in the beginning and end up in a bind. So I currently actually have 34 points and a few more rivals to defeat. So I'm going to be able to purchase some more things. But I started putting things into stuff willy-nilly in the beginning. Yeah, sure, give me more of this, give me more of this. And at the end of the day, maybe I didn't even need this stuff. Like tire preservation, pretty unnecessary because you can always go back to the garage or go to a PA to get new tires. So you can hold off on that. This type of stuff seems like, little quality of life things that can come later on in the game. So like this wall reduction, you probably don't need it, just don't hit the wall. Easier said than done, but just don't hit the wall, You can always start races over, so save your points there. One thing that you may want is something like this long runner, which gives you long run bonuses, and I did a whole video on how long run works, so if you're curious about that, check out the other video. It's not a lot to explain, but there's some math involved, so the long run perks are actually pretty good. I don't think I'm going to go down to 60%, but 40% is a good middle ground, I think. These cruising enthusiasts, they're alright. I wouldn't bother with them, although they are kind of necessary to get to this long runner level 2. This one on the far right here, at the start of the SP battle, the SP gauge remains stable for 3 seconds. I don't think that's necessary either. You're not going to really need that to progress. And something really important about this skill tab is you can only equip one skill at a time. So if you go back to the garage, you're going to be able to equip a skill here, and you can only use one at a time. So that's another reason not to just purchase those skills willy-nilly. Willy-nilly seems to be the phrase of the video here. I don't know why I keep saying willy-nilly, but yeah, just don't throw them out there willy-nilly. So finally in the center here, you have your perks tab. This is pretty important because you're limited to the amount of cash you can hold, and these on the left increase the capacity of your wallet. So I went pretty far down here. You're only really going to need these if you want to purchase something that costs more than your current wallet can hold. For example, at the dealership, there are vehicles that cost more than what your initial wallet can hold, and vehicles that cost more than my current wallet can hold. For example, these rival cars on the right here, they cost 10 million or above, actually up to 15 million so far, and my current wallet can only hold 7 million. So if you want one of those vehicles that costs more, you're gonna have to upgrade your wallet. The largest wallet you can currently get in the game is 15 million, so that works out for those cars. There's a tree for garage expansion. Right now, I don't think that's necessary unless you're buying a ton of cars. Right now, I can afford up to 10 machines in the garage, and it's plenty for me so far. So I would only grab these as you really need them. If you find that you're going to be spending a ton of money in the game and you want to save some here and there, these rightmost trees are going to help you out there. You have loyal customers to reduce the cost of vehicles from the dealer. You have this one that gives you a discount at the legendary tuner. It's only 2%. So I wouldn't bother with it. By the time you get out into something that's substantial, like 10%, you're at the end of the tree. I don't think that's worth it until super endgame when you have nowhere else to put your points in. To summarize, what I would prioritize is tuning and then figure out which vehicles you're going to want and go for those. And if you find yourself having trouble progressing, go to driver level, followed by this skill tab here, and put points into where you think it's going to help you out with progression. And then finally, at the end, expand your wallet for what you're going to need to purchase, because there is a limit, and expand your garage depending on whether you reach that limit or not. So that's it. That's a skill tree. Not much to it, but there is a limited amount of BP, so be careful with where you spend it. Hope it helps someone out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks again for watching. Peace.